Hey, what are your sexual fantasies? Does race have anything to do with them? Are you turned on or off by certain racial and sexual thoughts? Or even more important, do you think race and sex should not be included in a discussion about God and spirituality? Well, I said, unless you are willing to connect everything to God, you have a very small and limited God. Join us as we inquire about the possible relationship between race, sex, and God by asking the most profound question: who or what am I? Who am I?
Who am I?
Who? Our purpose is to awaken.
Who am I?
To awaken to absolute truth.
Am I?
Who am I?
Who?
Who?
Our purpose is to awaken to absolute truth.
Absolute.
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 Absolute truth.
Our purpose is to awaken. Are they one and the same? Absolute and truth. That's our purpose.
Who am I?
Okay, now I know that tease was something, and I guess the word tease, is applicable to that, okay? Because, but see, look, I know everybody was taught something about sex. You can't grow up in it, without having some kind of, moral probably code about it, all right? And everybody was, has here in America, there's something about race going on. And sex and race are related here, okay? How did we get to be all these different colors, okay, in here? Because of sex and race, all right? So the thing is, we want to get to the source. Joan asked in one show, how does all this relate? We can get into a very theoretical conversation about God and spirituality, but how does it relate to, something like sex or something like race, okay? Which, we see, particularly in the day of Donald Trump, we see a lot about race, even about supposedly that his thing in Russia, okay? Which he didn't do, of course. But anyway, the point, though, is we want to get to the bottom of everything, all right? We want to get to, what is the source? What is the source of it all? And until you identify and get to the source, you're just dealing with the top, the appearance of things. And what we are looking at is that the source is this body-mind mechanism, okay? It appears to be the source of race and sex, all right? I have a navel. And the reason I have a navel, and all of you have a navel, is because you were connected to a mother who you consider a source. And that mother, 9 months before you were born, Archibald, your mother had sex, okay? Yeah, I know that shocks you, okay? I know you were thinking that the stork or the Easter bunny or somebody brought you, but yeah.
Like looking at the question number 4, are sex and race obstacles to, quote, seeming God, or are they assets on your spiritual journey? And again, journey is in quotes. So if you look at sex and race, looking at the board, sex and race are fit under the line with the human identity and the personal identity.
Okay.
So how can I use that to get over the line to God's identity, to truth?
Okay.
I don't know that I can use that to get to truth.
Okay.
So my question is, how do you use that to get to truth? And can you?
Well, see, both of these things create this. Right?
Right.
Sex, if you see Beyonce, most guys, if they see Beyonce, they have a reaction. Okay, particularly if she's naked or something. All right? And, although now you're seeing more like interracial commercials now But John, you remember back in the 50s when Nat King Cole had a show, okay, they wouldn't even show it in the state of Alabama because they were saying that Nat King Cole, who was obviously black, would be singing love ballads to, was it Peggy Lee or one of those white female singers. We know that, many black men were swinging from trees in Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, or wherever, Emmett Till, okay? But it's a reaction, all right? And whatever is reacting, you're reacting to, you give power to, all right? And so you're looking at, well, if God's the only power and I'm reacting to something, then I have given power to something. See, what you have to see is that sex and race have no power. Just like when Jesus said to Pontius Pilate, you have no power over me, all right? In other words, I'm looking at anything that I have given power to, and I can see that by my reactions because I'm judging, all right? I have said, Beyonce is pretty, okay? Or I have said something about race. I have, something about whatever, okay? And then when I connect these two, that really can create a lot of reactions for people, okay? Like I said, even the Klan, that's one of the major things was, the white woman. Black men with white women. That's how a lot of those marijuana laws got passed.
So maybe I could use in this human identity, if I find that I'm reacting to something, that's like a signal that I am not coming from my true identity.
Exactly. See, once you consider you are this, once you think you are a body, and once you think you will think you're a body. I am somebody, okay? And once you think you're a body, you're going to have something going on about sex, something going on about, in America, race. Or if you're in another country, like I was talking this morning to somebody, she's a woman from Myanmar, Burma, what we used to call Burma, all right? And she escaped out of there because it's a real oppressive country. And what they're doing, I was listening to NPR last week, and the Muslim population there, they are, the government is really practicing genocide against the Muslim population there. So they have something called, it isn't race, it's another division that's called not us. Or if you were in Rwanda 20 or 30 years ago, it was the Tutsis against the Hutus, okay? But there has to be something called separation. Here in America, race is probably the one thing that we separate most about. But in Myanmar, it's religion, all right? Or in some other countries, it's tribal stuff or whatever, okay? But the ego or the human mind has to have something called, I'm a this, and all of us are like this. If you're like me, you're okay. But if you're unlike me, then you're not okay, all right? And now I can say that you're not like me. I can say you're guilty, okay? And once I establish you're guilty, I can attack you, particularly if I have God on my side. I can do anything I want to.
Yes, Dr. Carter, you got to go to the source, okay? And the source is the mind and the body. And just like what you were saying, that it is related to what the basis of human identity and what the basis of person identity. It is like, it's confusion when you are there and that well. So it means that, sex and race, it is a problem that a person will have, and where the person is. When we say that the earth, it is the school, and the daily, I would say, is the classroom, is where we are, for us to identify ourselves where we are there. So we need to be more in the basis of God's identity, which is actually the spiritual and awareness of the self.
Yeah, when you say mind, now you got to get clear on what mind is. Yes, mind is the source, okay? It's called omniscience, all right? But it's not the human thought, okay? That's psychology, all right? It's not what I think. How do they say in the Bible? I think it was Jesus who said, referring to God, my thoughts are not your thoughts. And yes, God's thoughts are awareness of perfect ideas, okay? But Raphael or Alan or even Einstein can't know what a perfect idea is, okay? Because you are limited by, of course, your conceptual thinking, or I'm living, or Jesus, or any human, okay? So yes, and this is what Gloria was asking, can this go into that? Can darkness go into light? Of course not. Once darkness tries to go into light, what happened to the darkness? It's kind of like saying, okay, where's darkness? I want to find darkness. Where's darkness? And wherever light goes, you can never find darkness because it's the exclusion of light.
So based on the idea of what the source is, we're really trying to discover what is reality.
Right.
Right? And all of us are going to say, I think, therefore I am. That's what we're basing our reality off of, thinking. Right. So sex is a thought.
Yes.
Race is a thought. Our body is a thought. Reactions are all thoughts.
Yes.
They come from the human and personal identity. What's above that, there's no thought. So when you had a question in the Kickstarter question that says, have I ever had an out-of-body experience? I would say yes, every day. Mm-hmm. Because I go to sleep every night and I'm dreaming. Mm-hmm. I'm not in this body. Mm-hmm. I can only say that I can't remember a dream when I didn't think I was a male, So I still kept that identity in there somehow. But there were different races in my dream, and there were definitely females in my dreams.
Mm-hmm. Pretty ones. We want to go there.
Yeah.
Sure.
Not all the time.
Okay.
But it didn't matter.
All right. Like I said, we won't go there.
Yeah.
Okay. But go on.
So when I really think about it, then there's a part of my dream life world that's still out of this body that I think I'm out of. There's nothing, and there's no one there. Mm-hmm. And I call that deep sleep.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out, why are we so hung up every day? Just like you use a great analogy, and I want to talk about it a little later if I could, about Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse and Walt Disney. Mm-hmm. Because to me, that's just like the same perfect analogy that you can use for this.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right?
Right.
Because you're saying that what looks like Minnie Mouse is not a girl. What looks like Mickey Mouse is not a boy mouse.
Right.
They're just characters that were made up in someone's mind.
Right.
So when I'm sitting here and listening, and whoever wants to hear this, they've got to listen to the fact that maybe there is something to finding out that the source of reality is something that you can't think about, but something you can really discover by inquiring deeper than what's on the surface.
Right. Yeah. See, like you said, I think once this I thinks, okay, there is separation. Mm-hmm. Okay? There's what seems to be limited existence. Mm-hmm. And therefore, things that I think of have a boundary because it's a thought. Mm-hmm. It's a limited thought. And then I can make it as if it's solid. Mm-hmm. When I say I don't mean Alan Carter. Mm-hmm. All right? It's kind of like you're using the analogy of a dream. Mm-hmm. When you dream, it looks like time and space are there. Okay? It looks like you were with Beyonce. Sorry, took Beyonce away from you, ball. Okay? That Beyonce is there in space, and you're there in space. Okay? So there appears to be space. There appears to be time that you and Beyonce are doing whatever you're doing. Okay? But those are all thoughts. Okay? And they have no substance to them. All right? But it looks like we have substance. It looks like Raphael is solid. I just hit him on the shoulder, okay? And my hand could not go through his shoulder. So it looks solid. But that's only because, you can explain it scientifically and so forth. But, about the race of electrons going around the nucleus of the atom and all that kind of stuff. But it really isn't, because atoms are mainly space, 98% space. Okay, so when you get clear that this is all just a thought, then you have to ask, whose thoughts? Is it God's thoughts, or is it, something else? Now that's an intelligent question, and we'll get to it.
Okay, one of your questions kind of jolted me a little bit. It's what if you knew Jesus was really into sex?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it jolted me into understanding the role of guilt in this whole sex thing and fear. Because we've been taught that Jesus was not into sex and that we're supposed to be like Jesus. So every time we have sex with somebody and we really enjoy that, we're going to feel guilty and we're going to be afraid that we can't make it to where Jesus is.
Yeah, it's probably the easiest thing to judge guilt about is sex. Okay, because there's so many rules and laws and that's the easiest way for guilt to survive. That's a beautiful way that the ego can. Yeah, you have something?
Yeah, I just need to follow up. I was reading this weekend, and I was reading an analysis of how to solidify things.
Okay.
And the author basically said that there's a technology where if you apply enough guilt and fear to something, something is going to materialize.
Yes, it will.
Yeah.
That's how it all materialized. Okay. This God, remember in the Bible, supposedly in Genesis, when this God called Jehovah, okay, whatever his name was, Jehovah, Yahweh, or whatever, and supposedly, he said, don't eat of the knowledge of good and evil, and, then he went off somewhere and didn't know what they were going to do, okay, even though he was supposed to be all-knowing, and he comes back and, and they had fig leaves, supposedly, I guess, over their genital areas or whatever, okay, and then he says, who told you you were naked? And that implied that there was some guilt there. Okay, that there was something about their body that they had to cover up. Okay, that there was some shame or guilt, some judgment around it. Okay, now this is the God that we worship, and this is why you were saying about how this guilt and shame can be connected with sex so easily.
Well, guilt and fear.
And fear. Well, guilt, you can't have one without the other. When you have guilt, you will have fear. Okay, they are twins in a sense. So the thing is. Yes, sex, until you look at, now I'm not saying that, you should have just, a free society where everybody just goes to have sex indiscriminately. No, I'm not saying that. We're trying to get at what is the source and seeing how, this mind, this I think, which is the mind or the ego mind or whatever you want to call it, all right, how it supposedly created something that's not of God. How could God see guilt? How could a God know something called something that he isn't? If God knew about guilt, then he had to create it, which means he was guilty. Okay? But God, Jehovah, I'm not talking about the infinite absolute. Okay? Or if God created this human body and had judgments about it. Okay? That, this is bad and this is, that tree in the garden, bad and good. Okay? That if he created this knowledge of good and evil, then he had to know what evil was. Adam and Eve didn't know, okay, until God, came in there and judged them. They didn't know about evil, but God knew about it, okay. So that story doesn't make sense, okay. It just doesn't hold water. But when you look at it, that's why you got to strip, okay.
How about mud?
Huh? What?
Well, the whole mud.
Well, what? He's been okay.
Well, I mean,
What, Bob?
well, we know humans came into being sometime along the way. Allegedly, in the story, God made mud and did something to it, and
Oh, you're talking about Genesis. The book, the story in Genesis.
do you do
Yeah, that's a story. Okay.
Do you do something to the mud to make?
Well, I suppose he blew into it or something. Then, he took one of Adam's ribs and made you women. That's just, like woe man. A woman comes out of the man. Because men are, of course, superior to women because God's a man. All kind of crazy stuff. Okay. But the point though is, you're asking the question: didn't God create humans?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the story.
Yeah, whether or not it's a story like in Genesis, every religion has a creation story. Because I have to start with this body, mind here. This is always the subject, okay? And any master, whatever you want to call him, okay, has to tell you you ain't a body. Okay? You're not somebody. All right? Then what are you? And that's what Jesus was getting to when he said, I and the Father, meaning spirit, the invisible presence, are one and the same. So that means this thing called this, which appears solid, which is located in time and space. And how can God know about time and space? Even Einstein was getting to the point called, well, time is relative. You know, it's not absolute. There's no such thing as absolute time. No such thing. Okay? I mean, we say, you know, this is the year 2017. That's because, you know, suppose this Earth goes around 365, you know, stuff. You know, but what time is it on, you know, Andromeda? You know, yeah, it's a meaningless question. Leonard, you were next.
So I just want to add that what you're saying is what I was going to say, was that in order for us to really think about what constitutes reality, you said it, it's time, it's space, and it's matter.
Reality as humans understand.
As humans.
What is a human?
That which thinks God is limited.
Okay, so you're saying that humans are just a thought.
Yes.
Okay, but I'm saying the nature of reality that we're talking about, in order to be human, what you have to have, you're saying, is a thought.
Yes.
Do you have to have a form?
Yes.
You have to, and thought is time, right?
Yeah.
So that's in that equation.
Yeah.
So you have time, thought, basically synonymous, and then you have to have form.
Yes.
And then that form is what gives us location.
Yes.
All right. So that's where the thought is when we say I am.
Mm-hmm.
We're saying that that's reality.
Yes.
But without, in the beginning, what was in the beginning? The
There
word.
was no beginning.
There was the word, right?
Well, no, there's no
According to the
beginning.
Bible.
According to the
According to the
Bible.
Bible.
According to the Bible.
Yeah,
But that's where people draw their reality from.
yes, they do.
We do.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when I was
Right.
5 years old, I drew my reality from Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought that was. Joe, remember on Christmas we had the 4 chairs, you know. But you know, I thought that was Santa Claus.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, but again, it's a thought. What's beyond thought?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
If we're saying what's beyond thought, then it has to be what came before thought.
Well, from Leonard's standpoint, because you have to have something called time. You know, came before, like your mother and father came before you.
Right. So I'm a thought.
Yes, you are a thought. But we have to have something, like you were saying, there has to be something called time, a time dimension.
Right.
You know, there is this, you know, beginning, like the Bible starts with in the beginning. That's a
Right.
thought of time.
Right.
But what happens to time when there's this, only this? Okay, no time.
No time.
Yeah, now has no beginning or no ending. And Leonard can't go there. But I am there.
Correct.
But Leonard is not there, and neither is Alan.
Okay.
Because, see, we made the mistake of making I connected to this body mind.
Right.
Did you have something else?
So you were saying then what you're saying is that only now is reality.
Yes.
So if I'm trying to hear that, which I can't hear,
Right. Right.
because I wouldn't exist.
Right.
I can't hear that.
Exactly.
Okay. So that's the conundrum.
That's the
you always-
conundrum. Right. You know, Leonard is trying to put it within
All right.
his ability to understand.
That's what I'm trying to do, is get to the place where I do have the ability to lose Leonard and be now.
You can't do
You
that.
can't do it.
Okay, that's
Okay.
that's the best point. I
Yeah.
can figure
See,
out.
the human mind, this human thinking machine is built on something called self-preservation.
Right.
Okay? And I will preserve, I mean, you know, I could take out a gun right now and point it at, you know, Raphael or you or anybody. And of course you would, you know, your heart would start beating, you know. Or, you know, we were seeing, you know, but somebody went to a church last week and blew away 26 people. But that didn't happen. Now, I know I got to explain that, okay? Because everybody, you know, go, wait, he's been smoking or drinking or whatever. In truth, in now, there's no death.
Right.
This is all Jesus was doing.
Right.
He was realizing the complete impossibility of death. And to do that, he had to go. There was no more Jesus personality or identity. There was only God. That's the only reality is, and when I say God, I don't mean Jehovah, Yahweh, or a God concept. That's a thought, okay? But only the infinite presence, omnipresence is the only reality, and this is omnipresent. And Leonard or Alan or Jesus can't go there. But I'm already there, because this is me. But not the me called Alan Carter, who came out of Ruth Carter, okay? And you know, my whole story growing up in Alabama, Jones, my sister, and all of that. Okay, now I'm seeing something called not me. I see 7 people here that are called not me's. Can God, the infinite presence, the omnipresent one, see something called not himself? Now that's an intelligent question. You should ask your preacher that. Or ask your philosophy professor, Sam Williams at Morehouse, okay? You took it. You got a B out of Sam, didn't you?
So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I ran from Sam.
It was about like this conversation.
Yeah. Glory.
So, from the stories about Jesus that we get from the Bible, I guess not just from the Bible, but it leaves me with the question that Jesus didn't even know that he was not a body. Otherwise, why would he give up
cross.
his body for all of us to be saved from sin and damnation?
Yeah. You have
There
to
would
now
be no
ask what
need
is
to
Jesus.
give up a body if,
Okay. Now, I mean, I know there have been some people even said Jesus didn't exist and all that kind of stuff. I'm not getting into all that. All right. What I want to say is all Jesus is a thought, like we were saying earlier. Okay. Just like time, we said Jesus lived 2,000 years ago, walked around, what was it, Nazareth or wherever he was, okay? You know, like there's a place and a time. And we were just having discussion with Leonard that there's no place and no time. So if there's no place, no space, no time, then what is Jesus? Nothing!
it's only a thought.
It's only, and well, whose thought?
My thought.
Yes, now you got to find out who you is.
Right.
Okay, that's why who am I is the most profound question, because everything comes back to me, and I just got a sign that me got to wind this up. Okay, so me will say we will stop here and we will continue. I know it seems like we've gotten away from race and sex, and maybe we have, but in another sense, everything comes back to the source. That's why we keep coming back here. And unless you are willing to ask, what is God or what is I, you will never get to the source.